This is Harry Gines, the first black man of reparations in U.S. history, bringing you a presentation today entitled The Civil War, Promise of Reconstruction. This film, I'm asking the YouTube to recognize that this is a film that is already posted on their page. It is a film necessary for black people and all people of the world to recognize how African descent and U.S. have evolved. This film is a film that we must get attention to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. My sequel, Bringing the Dead to Light, yet Louis Farrakhan is alive. He is not included in Bringing the Dead to Light per se. What has happened is that he has been banned from social media. That is a fact. Now, who is out here to inspire him to keep his head up? I am not a member of the Nation of Islam, nor under Harry Gines versus United States am I made part to any religious group, political group, any type of affiliation where an initiate would be expected of the initiate to apply. I'm not a part of any of that. It would be bias where I would have to show favoritism for those who I become a part of. I cannot be with you. No affiliation whatsoever. So when I'm speaking to Louis Farrakhan as a man. He is a man like I am a man. He has uplifted a people of African descent. He has uplifted, he's held that banner. So at some point, you run into something where even those icons get knocked down. You know, they have to fend for themselves. I have no doubt Louis Farrakhan can fend for himself. But my point today, under women's rights, this is all connected, and if it inspires Louis Farrakhan to keep his head up, so be it. That is my intent, because you can't just keep taking people's childhood from them. That is very unfair to do. You cannot erase a person's childhood. And that's what happens. I'm not sure if the musician Snoop Dogg, excuse me for name dropping, I'm not sure, but you have always gave your respect to Louis Farrakhan, and in your generation, many like you. One of your I think it's Ice Cube. Ice Cube, that's his name? Yes. He's also was one of your earlier members to your band. So he also has been following the Nation of Islam. Yes, he has. It's okay. You can't make a whole people have the same fears. There's nothing to fear. It's just that it's always a misunderstanding when things get all twisted up the minute you mention Louis Farrakhan. And I just want to go on record today to say this one thing. I may have said it in some of my other videos, I don't know. But I will say this. From my experiences, the Million Man March is not the greatest feat that Louis Farrakhan ever done. Now, that might, someone may want to argue with that, but maybe you haven't walked the walk that Harry Gines has. And I know for a fact, he's fed millions, not just mentally feeding, with nourishments to the mouth. He's fed millions. So that is the greatest feat that Louis Farrakhan, in my experiences, I've ever seen a man that could feed that many people. He fed more people than what Jesus felt, when he supposed to cast his line out, and brought in all the fish and all the bread and stuff that he's supposed to feed. That was Jesus. Louis Farrakhan long outdone that act of Jesus. So when we're speaking of Louis Farrakhan, there has many African descents having different experiences. But yet, if a white person gets a hold of his presentations, it's took a different way. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to defend Louis Farrakhan. Like I say, he is a man who I am sure can fend for himself. I know this. So I'm not worried. But at the same token, people who try to uplift, sometimes they have a problem in dealing with elders. What could you possibly give Louis Farrakhan? What could you possibly give him? Because when you deal with those kind of elders, it gets kind of hard, don't it? Well, what could I give you? Well, if he is down, then I want to be one of the ones to, no, I don't know you like that. You get up from there. See, and that's what I'm trying to do under women's rights. You see, so under women's rights, I will connect it all. If you give it a chance, I will connect it all. But right now, this is what brought Harry Gines bringing another presentation this soon. Make no doubt, that's what this presentation has sparked another, it's all over social media and no one really knows how to address it. It's like a shock, that this could be happening, that something could become invisible, his messages, his teachings, because from a perspective of an African American or African descent, however way you look at it, we may not see the hate that a white man sees in his presentation. And I'm not trying to defend him. But as a man, no, hold on, look. He can take a man like Harry Gines, and today I represent the first black man of reparations. Now, do you understand that? He's been very instrumental in the teachings of the Elijah Muhammad. He's held that banner high. He got that banner high, always has. So those type of teachings could take a man like Harry Gines, and now Harry Gines has to represent reparations. So how could that possibly be? Because society will always try to dig up some dirt. And you'll find it if you keep walking that trail on Harry Gines. It's not a matter of it being in the closet. I've never tried to come out here and be a saint. I have said I am not a holy man. But what I am, I can't change. What's been put in me was put in me for a reason, and why I am the first man is also for a reason. Because you may not treat me the way I'll treat you. You may not do that. So it's reasons for everything. Now, I have a film, if I can get to it, because it's very important that the fair use law, is understood as early in the presentation as possible. Because I am using a film to make a point. Now the film, is entitled The Civil War, The Promise of Reconstruction. It is an American heritage film. The companies also involved would be the Learning Company of America. They have depicted the relations of slave and master and the people of the Port Royal. There were a people who you in the 21st century could still use as a class action because those people established a class of people. That's what was established. So in bringing this information under women's rights, you will see how everything is connected and the work that Louis Farrakhan has been trying to hold the banner from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad a very long time. So there is a lot built up. I'm not trying to speak for Louis Farrakhan, but just for me alone, I can imagine how much is built up in him so his fury comes out the way it does. I mean, it's very frustrating for a man like Louis Farrakhan to get no ear. So if he cussing and fussing, Harry Giles has never cursed like, I'm just saying, I'm not Louis Farrakhan. So my presentation may be always different than him because he's been carrying this banner since I was a boy. So when I see someone, attacking an elder icon, like that, I mean, I've got a lot of things to do. This video is being made in the daylight. I tried all night to bring the best of this film to you, but yet, for whatever reason, the technology of the 21st century couldn't pick it up. I mean, how you normally show a film in the darkness. The 21st century technology couldn't pick it up. So I'm going to give me some rest because all my videos are made 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because I want the sound to be as low as possible because I know it's very difficult to understand me as it is with this southern drawl I have. So I need some silence. But today, this video is being made in broad daylight. Like I said, the strangest thing, by morning, and after sleeping on it, I wake up and turn all the devices on. Well, I'll be damned. I have some footage that the 21st century technology can capture. But like I said, during the nighttime, I couldn't do it. The blessing came in. The blessing came in. Let's look at it. Let's look at it like that because I can't explain it, because by all technology, it was supposed to work last night. But the blessing came when the light came on. So anyhow, I'm not trying to get off course here. I must remain poised, but I'm just excited that I will be able to bring this film. Now, it's going to be a little rough starting out with this film. But what I want you to do is bear with it. And if you get frustrated, it's okay. It's okay because you can go to YouTube. I gave you the title, The Civil War Promise of Reconstruction. Now, by seeing parts of this film, maybe that might help you go to YouTube to actually find it, a real clear film, that's already posted on YouTube. It's already there. All I'm doing is bringing it as a remix under women's rights, and you will see this, how it's possible to connect. There's a woman in the film that makes it women's rights. She was the front runner trying to push, for a certain uplifting of the free men of that era. But it's really a tragedy that has brought us into the 20th century, into the 21st century. That tragedy from Reconstruction still remains. Because, I mean, in your own psyche, use the conscience to understand. In your own conscience, no, it's not sound sound reasoning. It's not sound reasoning for you to have been a slave, but yet still working for a white man. You see, now that's only righteous. See, no one's trying to overthrow the government. All we're trying to say as African descent, the wrong never got corrected based off what Lincoln had set up for the African descent. It never got corrected. So when you're looking at this film and then you look at yourself in the 21st century, like I said, it makes no sense at all to be working for your former slave master. It really doesn't. So all of your thinking has been designed and passed down throughout the years. So it seems like this is normal for you. You know, you're always trying to, you know, Black Power and all of the things that you got to say, but yet you still, those very people who saying it, they go right back to a white man and hit the time clock. So the whole thing, the whole sham of it all, you must look at yourself. What are you really doing? And then, like I say, here come a man like Louis Farrakhan for all these decades, you know, and then he gets treated like he does. That's for a reason. You know, it's like a conflict of interest to have a man like Louis Farrakhan who has that much knowledge of the past and bringing it to you the way he does. It's meant to wake you up so that you will realize that you ain't on course and you have never been on course. That's the whole thing. Now, if you are talented, you know, you get a certain buy through Martin Luther King. But prior to Martin Luther King, you wasn't even getting a buy. See, when I'm saying buy, that's like in sports. You get a buy to go through society. Let me explain that. Society doors are open for you as an entertainer. Martin Luther King made that possible so that those rich blacks could have it easier. You know, I mean, especially if you had your own monies. Okay, that's what Martin Luther King did. But the rest of y'all, you know, desegregation, well, you know, it really didn't change much. Just like freeing you didn't really change much. So always remember that when you're having these presentations brought to you, I was trying to explain to you that it's hard to give an elder something. Well, Louis Farrakhan only acts, I guess the term that they use is a springboard. Okay, he has no springboard. So nothing really comes back at him, you know, or if it does come back at him, you know, people have such a negativity that it seems like they want to battle. No, this is not a battle. You know, I'm not trying to battle with anybody because my facts are here as a point that is necessary to uplift the masses who are in a destitute situation because they never knew any better. They never did. It's all been passed down from generation and generation and generation how a white man have structured you to be. Now that's how it is. I mean, you even have his surname. You brand it. Yeah, and I'm not trying to fight with you. You look, disrespecting your family. That's not what I do. Your last name is yours. That is who you are. But your last name is tied to a slave master. That point has to be clear to you. Who you are, you're going to have to find that. I'm Harry Gines, the first black man of reparation in U.S. history. That is what I represent. So, I mean, excuse my attire. I didn't come out here suited because, like I said, I have work to do in the field. That's what I have to do after this presentation. This is, like I told you, this is daylight hours. And I do have something else to do. I crammed this presentation. I don't like to do that. I just made a video on Harriet Tubman, not long ago. At least, once a month. But with this happening with Louis Farrakhan, here I am back again, trying to get people calm, recognizing Louis Farrakhan can fend for himself. He can. I'm not shunning him in any way, trying to leave him behind in any way, but at the same token, we must go forward. See, now when Louis Farrakhan gets this message, that's your job. Make sure he gets it. Because if he's with us today, or he passes on, which we all will do, long as he knows that somebody out here is going to continue the work. That's what is important to him. That is what I try to give him. I mean, he has no springboard. Y'all don't know how to reach an elder. I'm gonna reach him with this one, because if he use it, it will come out different. Yeah. See, me speaking it is one thing, because as an artist, everyone has a different style of bringing things. That's what an artist is. Louis Farrakhan is not an entertainer. Neither am I. So he would bring this presentation far different than I would. But yet, in trying to pass it on even to him, not that he don't know this. A lot of you know it, but yet sometimes you got to understand how to use everything you got in making your point. It don't come out the same. Louis Farrakhan to say the same thing I'm saying right now, and it won't come out the same. That's the artistry in uplifting a people. You see. So with that, I want you, and I have already mentioned to YouTube, all the people involved, and also it is narrated by Alexander Scrubble. Now get the name, that's the narrative. I want to make sure Alexander Scrubble is also recognized. We're not taking anything from anybody. This presentation is about women's rights. Under Harry Gines' sequel of Bringing the Dead to Light. Me mentioning Louis Farrakhan, from man to man, I thank you, man. I had a chance years ago to do right, but I'm here today to try to, show you something, that I can be a better person. I can be a better person, and I probably should have got right years ago, but sometimes you go through hell and high water to get where you at. And I just want you to know that I'm at peace, man. And I want to make sure you at peace. So that's what it's about. If we can uplift some people, there, let that be. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get to this tape, this tape making from the film. We're going to have to do that, okay? Because I got a lot of work to do, and I hope y'all enjoy it. There will not be any type of an editorial after the film. I hope you enjoy it, and I am recommending that you go to YouTube. If this film doesn't give you all that you need, then please go to YouTube. under civil rights promise of Reconstruction. Now, that film on YouTube is already there. Only got 100 maybe 100 plus people viewed it. Now that's very low. I mean, yeah, this is a film that I'm recommending under women's rights. Try to catch the names, because as you watching these films, their names being dropped. Them names are very important on the path where you're trying to get to. So you want to keep them names real close to you. This is not, look, when these people are mentioning these names, this is not an act. They may be actors depicting what happened, but they represent a company or maybe a person. They're playing a character, so their names are very important. Let me show you the film, and like I said, when it starts out, it's going to be a little rough, but if you can bear through it, if you can't catch up with the audio, then pay as much close attention to the to the visual and the audio as you can, so that you can take some notes from it, or either go to YouTube. There you will find this film. It's very necessary under women's rights. Thank you.
The Civil War is over. More than 1 million Americans dead, old, tens of bankrupt, broken, homeless. The ashes of the Old South are all that remain of a way of life its people fought desperately to preserve. Now be rebuilt, construction, a complex and bitter period in American history, marked by great confusion, mismanagement, and misunderstanding. Surprisingly, an experiment in Reconstruction began on the sea off the coast of South Carolina less than a year after the war itself began. Here, at Fort Royal, much trial and error and agony that we experienced all across the South was foreshadowed. Union armies took the islands, a kind of rehearsal for Reconstruction.
All the stuff the Yankees are doing. Put us in the carriage. We're taking ourselves to Charles. Out of front of the field, and come up here. We're leaving at once. Yes, sir. Hey! How you thinking? Hey, wait a minute! Hold up a minute. Master going down the top. You want to go out there with me? Y'all got to go up in the woods there. Oh, and don't mind when it's put over there. Everybody stop. Please! Please!
7,000 slaves were left behind by their former masters, who led Fort Royal to the comparative safety of the mainland. After centuries of repression, now there was jubilance.
The Yankees! The Yankees!
The Union needed a harbor from which to supply its fleet that was blockading rebel forts. It also wanted a rich cotton crop to help pay for the mounting costs of the war. The Sea Islands had a harbor and the best cotton in the South. Colonel William H. Reynolds was sent by the government to collect the captured cotton for shipment to the North. His interests, however, were not restricted to cotton. Plunder throughout the war and later was commonplace.
I want the furniture, books, jewels, and silver plate shipped to New York. We can sell the clothing locally. Strip the house bare.
Now, for the first time, the confused and destitute slave was expected to fend for himself. In an effort to help, the federal government sent a group of missionaries to the Sea Islands in the spring of 1862. They were called Gideonites and were chosen not only for their anti-slavery zeal, but also for the staunchness of their character. Their leader was a young lawyer, Edward Pierce.
We will prevent the deterioration of the plantation, secure their best cultivation, and promote the general welfare of the Negro. We cross the weary hands of hope, for pilgrims cross the...
Pierce had put forward a plan to the federal government for the social and economic development of the Sea Islands. The radicals in Lincoln's cabinet hoped that the results of Mr. Pierce's experiment would be of immediate and practical benefit at the end of the war. They were determined that slavery would not survive the war. At Port Royal, they hoped to show America how the former slave could qualify as an American citizen. Prominent among the 53 missionaries was Laura M. Town. Her background, like most of the others, was anti-alcohol as well as anti-slavery. Edward Philbrick, a successful architect and engineer, who donated $1,000 of his own money to the experiment.
I joined the expedition because I believed in the experiment, and I felt that I could be of some service, having been trained as a teacher, having had some medical knowledge. I felt that I could help them.
They need someone who has the practical skills to reorganize, to bring the South under the free enterprise system. Now, I know that the Southern system in the past has been inefficient. It does not work. Using free enterprise, we can make the South and the North function as a giant unit, an economic unit. And I'm here to try and help. I believe as much in abolition as much as the next man.
The missionaries called themselves Gideon's Band and compared their voyage with that of the Pilgrim Fathers.
I'm appointing a superintendent for each plantation and a teacher where it's possible. You, Mr. Philbrick, with your experience and know-how, are an obvious choice for a superintendent. I just wish the others were more qualified. Edward, I believe this experiment of yours will prove beyond doubt that free labor is far more profitable than mere slave labor. The former slave will work for money the same as anyone else. Yes, we must convince the North that the Negro will work for his living without being whipped. We must prove it. We're approaching your plantation, Mr. Philbrick. Just remember, we come to these people to elevate, to purify, and to fit them in every way for the duty of American citizenship. You come as their friend, their counselor, and their protector.
Mr. Philbrick will soon have him organized, won't you, Mr. Philbrick?
Here, the anti-slavery crusaders of the North met the former slave on his own territory for the first time.
Hard work is colorblind, and its rewards are colorblind. In the marketplace, all men are equal, and they are judged according to their labors. You will be paid for the cotton you plant and the cotton you pick, but for the cotton only.
But sir,
Well, we've already started paying our fields with corn and vegetables. Cotton. Any cotton? Well, Mr. Philbrick, sir, we see cotton's a slave crop. Well, now that we're free men, well, sir, we want to plant the kind of crops that'll keep us from starving. Well, you're not free yet. In the eyes of the government, you are captured enemy property. No more, no less. In future, you'll be paid wages for working cotton. You'll be paid fair wages. But what do you want? Tobacco? Molasses? Clothes for yourself and your children? Medicine and much, much more besides. But how will you pay for so much? The answer is simple. From your wages. The harder you work, the more you make. He who works hardest will prosper most. And that's the difference between free labor and slave labor.
The message was clear. Cotton and more cotton. To the former slaves, slave labor and wage labor were not so different. Little seemed to have changed.
Samuel! 5 acres, $5. Make the mark, please.
The blacks received their first wages 2 months late.
Once the South is free, once the Negro is earning wages, think of the potential, Mark. Just think of it. The end of the war will create 4 million new consumers overnight. Didn't I tell you the Negro is motivated the same as any other man?
I got one more question. One more.
The goods were sold at prices somewhat higher than in the North. Very little was given away because charity was considered demoralizing.
Jacket for your husband. How about it? Yes. Now come on, you've got to have a jacket for your husband.
The missionaries, like most Northerners, were idealistic. They wanted to create New England and South Carolina, nothing less.
Mr. Gilbert certainly seems the proper businessman, doesn't he?
Well, he's enthusiastic and he's practical. That's a good combination and should hold us in good stead. But most important, he seems to understand the main issue.
But does he understand that we're here for the benefit of the freedmen and not our own?
Well, officially they're not free, you know. Officially they're still contraband of war, so don't start putting ideas into their heads. No, what we have here is a heaven-sent opportunity to prepare the former slave to accept and fulfill the responsibilities of his imminent freedom. Don't forget that most of the North still assumes the black race is not only inferior, and also assumes it is incapable of learning.
The Gideonites' faith in the free enterprise system was matched only by their passion for education.
Hi. The next is L. And you says, very, very good. And the last one is a very special one. And what's it called? L. This is good. Now, Linus, can you write your name on the blackboard?
The former slaves proved to be willing pupils. The older ones fought with their letters so as not to be disgraced by their children and grandchildren. The Yankee school mom, and with her the public school system, came south during Reconstruction. And education became an ally of the northern businessmen.
Well, these Negroes will do anything for us if we can just teach them.
Oh, they seem reluctant to work on the cotton instead of their own corn.
I simply threatened to take away their privilege.
Education, it was believed, was the fundamental support of the Northern way of life.
That boy said you see what I have earned? I earned it all by hard. I know how to work, and although I have nice clothes now, still I am not ashamed to work for more.
Fine to teach the Negro to write his name, add up figures. But unless he has some sort of business he can make money, some sort of way he can enter the free enterprise system, it's all going to come to naught.
After 3 months, the experiment had taken root.
They seem happy enough, don't they? You know, if the world were to look in now, they'd see an example of a well-behaved, self-sufficient peasantry of which our nation has no reason to be ashamed.
But there was to be sudden change at Port Royal.
President Lincoln is sending you a protector, a much more powerful...
From now on, the fate of the experiment was to be directed by the Army. Mr. Pierce, the leader of the Gideonites, was leaving.
You must love him and obey him. I bid you farewell. And thank you. Adios.
I would like all of you who are sorry to see Mr. Pierce leave us to express your feelings by standing up.
To the skeptical North, Mr. Pierce had made his point. The black man was not only capable of learning, but he would also work without being whipped. Proclamation Day. After more than 200 years, slavery was finally banished from the North American continent.
My country is a big, sweet land of liberty, of the United States. Let
But freedom was now replaced by another issue, the disposal of rebel lands the government had seized for non-payment of taxes.
Very inconvenient, I must say. Especially so, since the government is about to sell land here in lieu of the land taxes owed by the state of South Carolina. The state of South Carolina being somewhat less than forthcoming.
This could be such an opportunity for the people to buy their own land, to be self-sufficient and self-supporting. Their freedom backed by property could be the answer to so many of their problems.
Well, hardly. They haven't got the money. I'm afraid it's much more likely that the land sharks, speculators will come in here and ruin everything we've done. Not necessarily. Not if we buy the land. I've convinced a group of businessmen in Boston to back me and purchase as much of the land as possible. I'm tired of the government inefficiency which delays their wages. Philanthropy which doesn't teach these people the value of a dollar. What this experiment needs is prompt businessmen. What it doesn't need are bureaucrats and leverage.
Mr. Gilbert, it seems to me that you are more interested in demonstrating the benefits of free enterprise than in helping the Negro.
This town, without the benefits of free enterprise, the freedmen will have nothing. They will be impoverished.
What the Negro needs is to work his own land by himself, to be self-sufficient. The freedom you speak of seems to be the right to work then for as little as you want, for as long as you want.
Not true. That is simply not true.
Yes? You say so. optimistic at this point. I do not believe that Mr. Philbrick and Mr. Gannett really understand the freedmen.
On 8 days, 255 acres. We'll give you $1 an acre, $1 an acre, making $1 a quarter.
Less than a year after the black had first received wages, the first land sales took place.
$1.50 an acre lot, each day.
Mr. Philbrick! Yes. It is true you are attempting to discourage Albert and the others from buying their own land.
I've pointed out the risk involved, and I've offered to take the risk for them for the first year, yes.
And the profits too, no doubt.
But part of the risk too, Miss Towns, I'm sure you know.
Miss Laura, he said he'd sell it back to us at the end of the year.
Suppose he doesn't.
Miss Towns.
Will you sell it back to him if it proves a profitable piece of land? You take the risk, Albert. Mr. Philbrick's benevolence will work to no one's advantage but his own.
Yes, Miss Laura.
I'm not here to make a profit, Miss Towns. I'm trying to keep these people out of the hands of bad men.
Is Albert bad? How many of your so-called bad men did you see here today?
Mr. Philbrick bought 11 plantations at a fraction of their pre-war value. In his first year of independent operations, he made a profit of $81,000. The blacks made wages.
There we go. What?
Why are you so against the freedmen having their own land?
My bones ache when I think what will happen. Plantations divided, subdivided into lots. And when they die, chopped up even more until they come in relative claims for share.
At Fort Royal and throughout the South, contract labor, tenant farming, and sharecropping were virtually all the freedman could look forward to for generations to come. While their women worked in the fields for new masters, nearly all the able-bodied blacks went into the army. There were many incentives. Military service was better paid than plantation work, and there was the possibility of getting preferential treatment in the distribution of captured lands. Many Northerners doubted that the freedman had the intelligence or the courage to fight for his freedom. But the blacks understood all too clearly what was at stake.
Maybe I should get my freedom and never looked at it was on here. But then my children would be free, and they would always have a slug in the face of that. Their father never fought for their own freedom.
By the end of the war, there were more than 180,000 blacks in the Union forces, 85% of whom were ex-slaves. And while their battle honors were formidable, black soldiers were expected to fight for less money than their white counterparts. But the black proved he would die for his freedom and rights.
Don't squeeze too hard, Miss Laura. You might disconnect something.
Come here. Sit down.
What's all these new faces around here? You passing out free molasses or something?
They're refugees from German camping across Georgia.
Oh, that old bullwhip. Why, I've seen him.
But they think this is a free place.
Former slaves flooded into the Sea Islands from all over the South because the experiment and the hopes it offered had become famous. General Sherman issued an order which designated coastal land 30 miles to the interior available for black settlement.
Now, what to tell you General Sherman has provided land throughout this region exclusively for the freedmen.
Who said so, Miss Warren?
He issued an official sealed order. We got our own official government bureau, too. The Freedmen's Bureau. Guaranteed us that land.
Along be. We're finally going to get what we wanted all along. 40 acres. What about the mules? We're going to give us the mules, too?
Yep, we gonna get the bureau, too. And we got our own amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Makes our freedom official. It's number 13.
13? Why, that ain't such a lucky number.
The Freedmen's Bureau Act entitled every male citizen, whether refugee or freedman, to 40 acres of land at rental for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, these lands would then be offered for sale to the tenants.
Behold, the Lord thy God has set the land
As the land rush started, many of the Gideonites were ecstatic.
God represented as the Lord God of thy fathers has said unto me, fear not, neither be discouraged.
The war was over. The Union had prevailed. And Abraham Lincoln, whose compassion was well suited to the problems of Reconstruction, was assassinated.
You can't just take our lands away and redistribute them. That is a denial of due process. It violates the sacred right of property. It is a precedent that will leave no one safe, not even the Yankees.
The new president, Andrew Johnson, was sympathetic to the southern landowners. Their lands were gradually restored, and land reform for the black fell apart all across the South. Violently.
And what's left? The land, instead of belonging to the Negroes, is going back to the Southerners. The Negroes haven't been taught how to work on the land. Instead of growing cotton, they're growing just enough to stay alive. Everything's chopped up. No one seems to know what's going on. They certainly can't trust the government. They can't say I blame them anymore.
Why are you taking your land away from the God? You can't have it, asshole!
He fought with the Union Army.
At Fort Royal, the former slave proved that he was willing and able to work, to learn, and to fight for his freedom. Yet during Reconstruction, so surprisingly foreshadowed at Fort Royal, America seemed unwilling to help its former slaves live now as free and equal men, denying the kind of legislation and justice that might have given meaning to freedom. For the black, the joy of emancipation turned quickly to bitter despair that has come down to this day. And Reconstruction goes on.
I will never leave them.
We didn't do very much. Not very much toll.
Well, that's the best I can do under the conditions that, I just crammed this movie. I wasn't able to really set the conditions as I wanted, but yet keep in mind that, when you're doing your best, I can live with this, knowing that there's other options on YouTube to find this film. But the one thing that we need to try to get on page with is an understanding of this. I bring one thing to the forefront. This is something that you might really want to get involved with. Get involved with this. This is the only illustration I will bring today. Get involved with this. Every state will have such a program at their City Hall Assessor's Office. The City Hall Assessor's Office is a good starting place. It's the starting place. If you're not in Illinois, try a state. They will more likely have the same program at the City Assessor's Office. So just check out some lots in your neighborhood and around. That's something that you can do. But it is a lot of working the ground. Now, like I said, I didn't come to you today, all necktied and suited, because it's daylight and I have a lot of work to do. And like I said, I crammed this for you, and I would like everyone to take a little obligation to make sure that Louis Farrakhan gets this presentation. That's all, because under women's rights, as you can see by the film and how it's all connected, women wasn't included. They used the male. The male was the one who they said got the land. But like I told y'all earlier in one of these presentations, I wouldn't leave y'all. So I don't want y'all to get too far ahead of me and leave me either. I told y'all this. So, I'm not going to leave you if it comes down to every male. But we inseparable. That's what you need to understand. We are inseparable. Now, I'm going to cut it right here because I understand that y'all like short videos, but it's not possible. It's not possible sometimes to do a short video. How you going to do a short video on something? So I'm going to leave y'all in y'all search and y'all research to figure out what's necessary. But always remember, Harrigan's versus United States is a case that everybody can use, in explaining the situation. Now, Louis Farrakhan, like I said, he is a very gifted and talented artist. He comes from a long lineage of articulate people. You see, so his theory comes out. When his theory comes out, no, it's misunderstood. I understand it because I've been a boy looking at him a long time. I'm glad to see you, man. But we're not going to worry about these Facebook bannings and stuff like that, because you got a lot of footage out there. And by them doing what they did and you being part connected with women's rights, I want to make sure that the presentation stays on course. But we must go forward. You see, Now, we're not leaving you behind, because I'll come get you. Yeah. Your people ain't going to get in my way. Ain't nobody going to get in my way if I want to come get you. Because we got to walk. I told you a long time ago in a tweet, we got to walk to make. So I'm just hoping you hold on and stay healthy, man, because, my health ain't the best either, but, I'm here. I'm working the land. I'm working the land, and that's what I got to go do. So y'all take this to him. Somebody get it to him. And if he can't feel it as a perfected piece, then go to YouTube. It's there too. This ain't something that he didn't know. A lot of y'all know this. But in trying to bring it to the screen as a 21st century product, this film was dated 1972. The further you go back, the people will speak differently in 1972 than what they speak in the 21st century. That's a lot of Louis Farrakhan's issues that he have, because in 1972, a Farrakhan would speak differently. He ain't never really changed. Okay, how can a man change how he want to bring something, or how he want to speak? That's very unfair. He knew in the 20th century how to speak, what the people needed. The fury and the energy that comes out is not meant to arouse the bad side of a person. It's meant to bring forth the good side of a person. And Harry Giles versus United States is a prime example of that. Yes, he is. Because you can dig up a lot of things on Harry Giles, but like I have said, today is what you need to look at Harry Giles and say, okay, we know where he come from. You see, now, if you want to say where he got it from, well, Elijah Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Dick Gregory. How long you want me to stand up here and keep calling out icons? They all were artists in their own rights. None of them speak the same. Now, hold on with just 1 second. Just 1 second, I'm going to let you go. But there is no entertainer that could ever wail louder than Louis Farrakhan. Make no doubt. Prior to the Million Man March, he had, and he still has, some tapes on the Stop the Violence tour. Get them tapes. Because the Stop the Violence tour was before the Million Man March, and under women's rights, that is what brought the fury out of Louis Farrakhan. I'll tell you one story, just one story. Louis Farrakhan came to St. Louis, Missouri, and cleaned house with any roughneck, any so-called hoodlum. He cleaned house. He made it clear. You ain't gonna be treating women like you doing. There was a rape in the heart of North St. Louis. I don't know the woman's name, but somebody don't know this story. The man had cut the eyes of a woman after he'd done his business in raping her. He cut her eyes with a sharp object. I don't know if it was a bottle, knife, razor. We talking about, now we're going back to more likely, as my memory remembered, I wasn't in high school. I wasn't in high school, so we would have to go the 60s, like maybe 69, maybe 70, something along those lines. But the black rapist raping a black woman didn't want to get caught, so what he did was he cut her eyes with a sharp object. I was just a boy. But that, being before the Million Man March, infuriated Louis Farrakhan. And he came to St. Louis. That stopping the violence Oh, yeah, that part of it, make sure you ain't gonna treat no black woman like that. No woman, period. You got something that you having a problem with your sexuality and you gonna cut somebody's eyes out? Louis Farrakhan wasn't having that. So like I told you, this is connected to women's rights. And Louis Farrakhan, I bear witness to his work. I know what he done. I know what he puts in a man. Now it's gonna come out differently depending on how any person is touched. It's gonna come out differently. But for a man to rape a woman and cut her eyes out, trying to get by with something, trying to be slick, no. Louis Farrakhan wasn't having that. And he is the only person that can bring forth that woman's name. I don't know if she's dead or alive today. I don't mean the name drop. I'm talking about what happened. That's true. And as many people in St. Louis know what I'm talking about. It was the Sumner High School area. Okay, maybe Kennerly. Something around that region of the Sumner High School area. Sumner High School is very big in St. Louis. Something happened in that community. The heart and life, North St. Louis. Louis Farrakhan came to St. Louis. No, we're going to bring this to justice. Who did it? And that's what happened. So when you start talking about how he speak and you trying to, everybody want to analyze something today? No. We understand his intent. Make no doubt. If you're of African descent, yes, you understand it. You only gonna go so far before he will act. Yeah, he got that. I don't cuss. See, that's the problem. I don't cuss. I'm gone, man. I'm gone. But remember that. I'm telling you a true story. You check, research it any way you want. That's what he did.